Hello, everyone. My name is Taylor Smith. I am a fourth year neurobiology, physiology, and behavior major here at UC Davis. I'm the graduating class of June 2020, and my hometown is San Diego or Temecula, California. I just say San Diego because it's just easier that way.
Okay, my name is Alysiah Silva. I'm a fourth year human development major at UC Davis, and I am middle school outreach coordinator for the African Diaspora Cultivating Education program at the SRRC.
Yeah, so a little bit about what Alysiah just told us about. So the SRRC is the Student Recruitment and Retention Center. We both work for the African Diaspora Cultivating Education community, and there's 7 other community programs that are catered to specific identities, such as Latinx, Chicanx, the American Indian, Bridge, which is our Filipinx, SAFE, which is our Southeast Asian. We also have transfer and non-traditional students and a graduate program all within our one center. So we just wanted to tell y'all a little bit about UC Davis before you choose coming here. We just want to share our experience with you. But before we get into that, tell us, what has been keeping you going in these Corona times, Alysiah?
What has been keeping me going? I would say that I've been listening to a lot of music lately. Every morning when I wake up, I'll blast the music just to get me out of bed and make me feel better.
Yeah.
It's very motivating for me. I really have been loving Janae's new album. I mean, I guess it's not that new anymore, but the songs really just speak to my soul.
You
And
really
then
have a way of speaking to the soul.
right, and yeah, I just feel like a lot of good music has been released while in quarantine. So I've been listening to music, cooking and baking a lot because I have so much time. I feel like when I had to go to school on campus, I would rush out of the door, not maybe I'll grab a yogurt or a granola bar or something, or eat a bag of chips for lunch. But now I have time to cook. So I've been making food a lot, baking cookies and stuff, and FaceTime has also been really keeping me going, because that keeps me in connection with my friends, and I've been having really good long conversations with people, even my family, so it's been really nice. Way back when. Okay.
Think back to when you were a freshman. Yes, 2016, little Alysiah. What was little Alysiah like?
Okay. What was little Alysiah like? What was I think okay. I think I was really excited to come to Davis because I had visited over summer and I was like, wow, it looks so beautiful here.
Mm-hmm.
And it was definitely a change of scenery because I'm from the Bay Area. So Davis is, I mean, if you've never been here, Davis is a really small, I mean, yeah, I would say it's a small town. It's really flat, unlike the Bay Area.
Yeah.
And it just feels smaller. But I was excited, and I think that little Alysiah was kind of nervous, because it was my first time kind of being on my own.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Did you have any extracurriculars when you were in high school?
When I was in high school, I didn't. I mean, I had a couple of extracurriculars. I was in. I went to Harvard Model Congress.
Oh.
So I did that type of thing. I played a couple of sports. I did 2 years of sports, which isn't that much. There was some clubs, but it was really small overall. And when I got to college, I just feel like everything was, it was kind of overwhelming because the classes were really very different. The setup, everything was just different than what I was used to. So yeah, little Alicia, it was overwhelmed when she came to college, in good and bad ways.
I definitely can relate in the sense of like just this experience being very unique. I came from a big school though, so I think that's the biggest difference. Is I came from a public school that had lots of clubs, lots of activities, and I was a leader in high school, and I continue to have like that natural leadership here in college, but it's just a little bit different. I think that's such a general thing. It's like people say, yeah, we have all the same stuff, it's just a little bit different. And it's something that you just have to experience. But being in high school, my classes were 40 students. I came to college and I feel like at 22 years old that I know less than I did at 18 years old. Not in the sense that my knowledge has expanded, but in my perception of how much knowledge there actually is and how much more I need to know to be to feel like I know something. Because in high school, you get a fact, you learn the fact, and you kind of connect it to another fact, but it's not the depth of knowledge that we have here. Like UC Davis is a research institution. And so your lower division courses are just introductory level courses. Upper division courses are more specialized to your major, but also your teachers will bring in, or your professors, should I say, will bring in more of their own research. And so you're learning new information as the world is learning new information. So I digress. But I think the biggest thing is me coming in, I felt like I knew everything. And so now I know that I don't know everything. And that's okay. And that's life, and you learn and you adapt. And I think that's what maturity is learning that you have so much more to learn.
Yeah.
So we know a little bit like what you were like when you first got here. Do you remember your transition to Davis? Like, were you homesick? Did you meet any new friends to help with the transition, like dorm life and everything like that?
Yeah, I think that my first, or like my transition here was, when I said it was overwhelming, I think it was just very shocking to come from the Bay Area to Davis because of just like the independence and then like the demographic and how different it was.
Something about that is like when I first came to UC Davis, I thought Davis was Bay Area. This was my first time coming to Northern California. And I know. Like on the website, it says Bay Area, but what it says is near the Bay Area. So
yeah,
but it's not the Bay.
It's drastically different.
Very different. Now that I've been to the Bay, and I know it's very different.
Yeah. So yeah, I came from the Bay Area, went to high school in Oakland, and then I came to Davis. And I think the transition, what made it a little smoother was making sure that I went home a lot. Don't get me wrong, but I also like met new people here, which really helped me like want to stay here and find my happiness here, because I feel like my first year, I kind of in the beginning regretted coming to Davis, because it just was so different, and like I had this expectation of college, which some of my expectations were met, but also it just wasn't fulfilling what I thought it was going to be my first year, especially like my first, I don't know, I guess just like my first quarter. But as I met new people and like I pushed myself to do new things, kind of got the hang of things, I enjoyed going to Davis.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think that's like anywhere you go, it's going to be a transition and having to adapt. I was 6 hours away from my parents, so my first year, I wasn't able to even go home for Thanksgiving because my families went across country. And so when they went to Indiana, I had to stay in Davis because we only got that Thursday and the weekend off. And so, like, that was kind of the extent of like, wow, I'm kind of isolated here. I was able to have other friends here. We had like a Friendsgiving and we try to make it work. But that's just like kind of the biggest thing about transitioning to college is you're starting to do things on your own. And that's okay. Like having to try to meet new people can be hard. Like in the sense that you'll be meeting a boatload of people. Like people will be coming from here, be coming from there, like from there, and they're just coming from everywhere when you first get here. And that allows you to be a little bit more choosy with your friends because those friends can be lifelong friends. So it's really nice for freshmen to just be able to meet new people. And there's a lot of different programs like first year IE Connections, a lot of scholar programs. Like I was a part of a biological scholars program that allowed me to be in a cohort of people. So trying to make those big classes feel just a little bit smaller by having similar faces and just as you continue through your career, you'll continue to see the similar faces or the familiar faces. Some of them do look similar, but mostly familiar faces. And you'll start to create that community, those study groups, which are really important. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I think the really big thing about transitioning to UC Davis is just being able to adjust to dorm life and being on your own. So, what are classes like in Davis? Like UC Davis classes when you first get here, especially, I think are like really sweet. And those are just to be clear. I know I've said it earlier, but lower division classes are those introductory classes, and upper division classes are a little bit more in-depth knowledge. So I guess just tell us about what classes are like for you, Alysiah, in lower division.
Yeah, so my first quarter here, well, I was a biomedical engineering major when I got into Davis. First year here, the classes were huge, like way bigger than I ever imagined. Like my classes at high school were like 30 kids at most. And then when I got to Davis,
your biggest class?
I would say at Davis, my biggest class is like would it be over 200 people?
It's 500.
Are you serious?
When we first got here, so the most popular science hall or big introductory classes or classes that a lot of people have to take for different majors come out of Silva 123. And that lecture hall sits 500 people.
I did not know my classrooms are that big. Okay, I cannot gauge like classroom sizes.
And that's the point. Like you can't really gauge how big that is.
Yeah, but yeah, a lot of my classes were in Silva, and like I remember feeling so like just I was like, how is the teacher ever gonna know me? How is the professor ever gonna know me? Like they don't know you. So one piece of advice I feel like I would give to incoming students and students, me, myself, and anybody who's still in college, like sit in the front. You know you have to sit in the front. You know you're gonna be on your phone if you sit in the back. So sit in the front and pay attention. Keep yourself accountable.
Oof. I remember like people would legit be on like I can see their computer screen and they're on different social media sites watching YouTube and like
no, for real.
What are you doing? You are paying money to be here. Why are you playing video games?
It's easy to get lost in the sauce. It's so easy. But you have to just
you know, the professors really want you to learn the information, and a lot of them are really skilled, if not all of them are really skilled, are in their area of teaching, and they do. All the professors here in science, at least, and I know in sociology and things like that, have their own research. There are a few just teaching professors, but most of them do research, and so they have like high level expertise in what they're doing, even though they mess up during lectures sometimes. So that's why you need a pre-read, because sometimes you'll come to lectures and the professor can say the wrong thing, and then everybody gets a wrong fact in their head, because from high school you're used to learning the fact. And so pre-read. That's how you're successful in STEM. I don't know other majors because I've never been another major, but that's my biggest tip to y'all. So, okay. What is the class culture like?
I think it depends on the class that you're taking. I know that, yeah, class culture can differ depending on what you're taking. Definitely my prereq classes when I was a first year, I think that, I mean, there were study groups and stuff, but it was just the classes were so big that it just felt kind of like, okay, I'm just going to get by and like do my own thing and like make sure that I'm doing the practice problems and like asking questions or whatever. But I think that when you get into upper division, it can be more personal, and you're definitely using like a lot of more critical thinking skills versus like memorization.
I think another part of that is we try to break down big classes into discussion groups. So, for example, in chemistry, we had the lectures with 500 people, and then we had our own section where we had a teaching assistant or a TA who would have like 40 students. So it kind of break it down into those lab groups, and your lab groups for discussion, depending on the class, is that time when you can make those one-on-one connections. Lab groups, I think professors' teaching styles are interesting in the way that in the beginning, you have to come prepared. Well, all throughout all of your college experience, you have to come pre-read, so that you can keep up, because it goes fast. The quarter system is very fast. It is, let me say it again, very fast. You cannot take a single second, it feels like. I don't want to kind of discourage anyone and their thoughts about coming to Davis and or being a part of the UC system that participates in the quarter system, because all the UCs participate in a quarter system besides UC Berkeley.
And I feel, okay, with you saying that, it made me think of Rate My Professor. And I think that professors they can like make or break you. Honestly, like a good professor is such a blessing. And I mean, you can still do well in classes that with professors who aren't as good at teaching, but definitely use the website Rate My Professor, because there are reviews on there for a lot of professors, and it can, yeah, like I said, it can make or break your class and like how you feel in that class and how you learn in that class. So do your research.
Yeah, shout out to the people who actually take the time to write those reviews, because I used to rely on those a lot. Now that when you have classes that are really big, there's a lot of professors who teach the class, and I know for me, like organic chemistry was one of those classes that I had to take it with a different professor than I had taken it with, because I just wasn't doing it well. And that's the nice part about series, is sometimes being in a series and changing professors in a series can throw off the learning styles. But sometimes you need it to throw off the learning styles, because some professors care more about the mechanisms and you trying to learn fine details that don't really matter. And other professors will care about you knowing the details so that you can go on and be more successful in what you actually care about. Because anybody can be good at something that they care about. When you don't care, you won't try. When you don't try, you just don't do good. So that's just the hardest part. So yeah, rate my professor. Check it out.
Ooh,
You need that. That was a gem, Alysia.
right?
Yeah.
I'm putting y'all on. You gotta
I know,
take this
right?
information. Taylor, what is an expectation you had about college that turned out to be different than reality?
Wow. So I guess I expected to come in to college and just be the best version of myself. Like I really thought I was going to come from Temecula, California to Davis, California and turn into some type of socialite. And like I really had this fantasy of just having a blog and being like Instagram famous for some reason.
Okay.
I know, right? But the reality was that I came and I still was the same person and I still struggled with procrastination. And I found a few other flaws of mine, like having a lack of, I guess, motivation. But a lot of it comes from just being burnt out. And like the burnout is real. Like I can feel, it feels like trying to hit the gas pedal when there's no gas in the tank. And that's what burnout is. And it's something that a lot of people struggle with. If you're fortunate enough to not go through it, then that's, you don't go through it. But that was my experience. I came out of high school a rock star, and I'm coming out of college a rock star as well, just by a different measure. Because, you know, like grades are hard to come by in college, and I can make excuses all day, but at the end of the day, I know it was just something that's hard to adapt to. So, yeah.
I feel like you gain a lot of self-awareness throughout college, especially your first year.
Yeah. And then you also learn that it doesn't take a lot to keep you happy too. So that's something that I that I learned anyways. Like I can be happy with like the small things.
Yeah.
So what about you, Alysia? What was an expectation that you had that turned out to be different? Or you can even just tell us like what's something that turned out better than expected.
One of them was that I didn't even know what studying was or how to study or any of that type of thing. I didn't know what college classes were going to be like. So I think that my expectation, just because I was ignorant to like what they were like, I expected them to be easy for some reason. Like I expected that I would do fine because of my past experience with classes in high school. I was doing fine in those classes. So yeah, I expected that, and it turned out to be different than reality because the classes at Davis were way different than what I was used to. But I think when I said that I was gaining self-awareness, I definitely learned my downfalls and ways that were not habits that I was practicing that were not good for success, were not going to lead me to success. So I think that I definitely learned different study habits, how if I work better with a group or by myself, how to use office hours, how to ask TAs questions, and that type of thing. I feel like I also learned how to advocate for myself.
Yeah.
I've learned that, throughout and I think, I don't even know if I learned that my first year. Honestly, it took me some time, but if I did it earlier, it would have been better.
I feel like your first year, you're so surrounded by so much support and people being like, "Oh, you're a first year, like let me hold your hand," and then, but also at the same time dragging your hand. Like it's a weird balance. It's a really weird balance, but something that for me turned out better than I expected. I really didn't expect to come out with any lifelong friends. Like I know people say like I never had that group of friends, and I feel like for a long time I felt like I was missing out on something by not having like that group of friends that we go out to, we go on road trips together, or we go to the beach on the weekends and stuff like that. That I saw some of the people who I know had, and I think that made me feel like I was missing out on something. But I really enjoy doing my own thing. Like I enjoy cultivating my space to be comfy and studying. Surprisingly, I do a lot of like my own research because I am in a research lab. So that was something else that I never would have expected. I thought I was going to be a medicine doctor or a medical doctor, and I turned out wanting to do a doctorate instead a PhD degree so that I can learn my field of biology just a little bit more. And I think that's something that I never could have expected because I was so set in my ways and just knew that I knew everything, which I actually didn't.
Yeah. And I also think that one thing that, like, how my expectations turned out better through my college experience is that my first year I was really stuck with my friends from back home and like going home and just my relationships that were not at UC Davis. But I think throughout my first year and in my experience here, I definitely met people and like was able to connect with new people, which I think was really important in making personal connections, but also professional and academic connections also are really important for the future. And to just learn about what you actually want to get out of college.
Yeah. Thank y'all so much for tuning in with us. We had so much fun. Alysiah, you were so amazing. We couldn't have had all the insight and knowledge. Thank you for dropping them gems on us.
Of course. Thanks for having me.